Hello friends, welcome to this tutorial. Today we are going to learn how to implement the Spring Security using the Auth 2 along with the JWT. So basically Auth 2 is a framework which provides all the features to implement the security in your Spring Boot application. So here I have written a one article for your reference if you get stuck in some point. So let's go into this article and go through all the paragraphs. You will able to understand how we are going to implement it. I have written was step by step. Just follow all the steps here. So steps start from here. See step number one. So step by step I have written, and just you have what you have to do, just follow it. At the same time I explain each and every lines of code what I am going to implement in this project. So let's begin. The very first step we have to create a one Maven project from the Spring Initializer. So just go into the browser and type Spring Initializer. Okay, you got this. Just go there and give the name, group name, give the artifact ID. Alright, or left it all the things by default as it is. Just add the dependencies whatever required. The first dependency we required is Spring Wave. Then we required inbuilt in-memory database for this purpose, and the JDBC, Spring Data JDBC, Spring Security. Okay, once you got this dependency, just press on the generate. You will get the project in the form of zip file. Just open it in the folder and unzip it. Once you unzipped it, just import in your Eclipse or the IDE where you in which you are using. I'm just using the Eclipse. You can use any of your favorite IDE. Alright, we have imported this project. What you have to do, just switch on to the article and follow the step number 2. Step number 2, add the following dependency in your pom.xml file. So these are the dependency. One by one I explain at the same time. The first dependency we required is Spring Boot Starter Wave. We already added this. Then we want is JDBC, Spring Boot Starter JDBC, already done. Spring Boot Starter Security we already implemented. This thing I did. Let's verify. I think we did not implemented that thing. So let's see whatever the dependency we have right now. We have the JDBC, we have the starter security, we have the wave, starter wave, we have the S2 database. Uh, we have only the four things. So you can see we have missing two dependency. So what you can do, just go into the browser. Two dependency, what are they? We are missing. We are missing auth 2 dependency. So right here, Spring Security auth 2 dependency. You will got MBN repository. Just go inside that, and I'm going to choose 2.5.0 release. Click on that. You will get this Spring Security. Just what you have to do, just copy it and go into the pom.xml file and paste it anywhere in the dependencies section. Okay, we got this. One more dependency we are missing. What are it? Spring Security JWT. So what you have to do, just type it here, Spring Security JWT dependency. You will get this first one. Just go inside that, again same thing. Spring Security JWT, just click on the latest release. For now, what I'm going to do, I will just copy it and paste it in the pom.xml file. So we got all the dependencies, 6 dependencies which required for our projects. Just let's jump onto the article. Close it. Already we have done. We have S2 database. We have this for testing. We all have the dependency we have in the pom.xml file. Now come to the step 3. Enable the Step 3, we have enabled the authorization server and the resources server. So for this purpose, you need to use the two annotation, enable authorization server and enable resources server, where in the Spring Boot application or the main class. So just go into the main class, which by default created at the time of creation of the project. This is the main class. So what you have to do, just you have to add two annotation. What are they? Enable resource server, and one annotation and another annotation enable what it enable authorization server. Alright, just fix the imports. So now I mean enabled both the things, enable resource server and the authorization server. So basically the purpose of this annotation is to make our application to work as a both resource server as well as authorization server. So what is the meaning of that? Resource server means this is the application which contains all the APIs. APIs, we are going to create the API, and in that we write so many methods for each APIs. So it will perform some business operation or some contain the business logic or the logic which is required for our project. So this enable resources server is enabled that this application is containing some resources. Now the next annotation we have enable the authorization server. It means the person, anybody who wants to access the resources or the API from this application, our application, they have to follow, they have to go through from some authorization that it will check whether that person or the person who wants to access the resources are authorized to access or not. Okay, so that is the case. We are going to implement. Let's see. We are going to implement this in the further tutorial or the section in this video. So let's move into the step number. Next step. What is the next step we have? We are already enable it. Go to the step number 4. Create a POSO class. So we have to create a POSO class. So what I'm going to do, I will create one POSO class to store the users or the client information in the database. So let's jump into the Eclipse, and we are going to create one class, POSO class. We will give the name users POSO. Alright, I have created the name. Let's see what are the things required in the users class. We require username, password, and grant authority. 3 variables we want. So I'm going to do private string username, private string password, and what is the third one? Third variable we want. We have collection of grant authority. So what I am doing, I'm just copying it and paste it here. So these are the variables we required for this purpose. So first two you can easily understand, it is for the username and the password. So what is the third one? Third one, let's see what is it saying in the this case. The third one, it represents the collection of collection or the list of granted authority. So the purpose of this variable, it will contain the what are the authority level of that client or the person who wants to access the resources or the API of our application. So it will verify, it contains all the authorization detail like granted authority details. For example, that client can having the authorized of system admin level. It can be authorized for manager level, like different post, different things. So whatever the authority of that person, so or the client, we are going to store in this variable. So now come to the next step. What the next step is? Step number 5. In this step 5, we need to create a user helper class. So in this user helper class, I am going to extend the one user class which is present in Spring Framework Security. Okay, this user class is the predefined class which is already present in the Spring Security. So the purpose of creating this to authenticate the user. So authenticate the user. So let's see. Means authentication means what? That just check the correct user, the person who try to access the resources are the right person or not from by looking their username and the password like that. So what I'm going to do, I will just copy it and I will explain each line of code because explanation is very important. You can easily get these codes, but if you don't know what are the purpose or the things, then it will be very difficult. So I'm going to create one class, users helper class. I now I will paste all the things required. Hmm. Look at here. This is the user helper class. It contain here what I have did here. I am extending the user which is present in auth C here. From where this user come from? This come from the Spring Security. So I am extending that. At the same time, I am creating a constructor of user helper class where I am passing the user poso object. User poso we already created here, and here I am passing the object of that, and from there inside that I am calling the super calling. This is the super calling statement. The purpose of super calling statement to call the immediate parent class constructor. Okay, so parent class, who is the parent class for this? User, because we are inheritance, we are inherit the user class. So the user is the parent class and we are passing the username, password and list of grant authorities to that constructor or the parent constructor. But see, it is giving the error because we did not created the getter and setter method here. So we need to create getter and setter. Right click, go to source where it is, and generate getter and setter. Alright, and save it. This is the user's poso. Don't forget. And fix the import for this. Granted authority. It is giving error. Array list import from java.util. Granted authority is not giving any suggestion. First let's fix it. Collection import java.this. Now granted authority comes to here. Yes, we got the suggestion. Just fix it. So granted authority is also present in the Spring Security. You can see here it is present in the Spring Security. So all done. We have created the user's folio. We have created the user helper class. We have created the main class. In that we enable the resources server, enable the authorization server, and at the same time we have completed the pom.xml. So these four folders we have completed, four classes and the four things all over. Now moving to the further, go to the next step. What we have? we need to create a user doc class or the repository class. So first let's see what is the purpose of this class. And this class is basically used to access the data from the database. Okay, this is the DAW class. We give the like DAW is like some conventional name used in the industries. So basically it is a class which is used to fetch the data from the database. Okay, for example, username, password, granted authorities, whatever we store in the database. So this class, we written the code, it will connect to your database and fetch all the details from the database. So let's first what I'm going to do. I will copy it because I told you the code is not important. First you have to understand what is each line of code is doing. You can easily get this type of the code from anywhere on the internet, and but the important part you should know how it is working. So that's why I'm not giving more focus on writing each line of code. I'm explaining it. So it will be very good. So I'm giving the name users db query. It is very good. If you give the db query means you are this class is responsible for accessing the data from the database. I've created this and just go here. I will copy this code and I will paste it here. Alright, don't worry, I will explain you each and every line of code what it is happening here. So just close this extra tabs which will give you more space. So let's see what are the things. So the very first thing, I have created the user DB query class, and here you can see I have tagged with the repository annotation. So this will tell the Spring that this is the repository class which is responsible for accessing the data from the database or perform all the database related operation. So that is the repository annotation is doing here. So what I did here I auto-wired the object JDBC template. So this is the predefined object which is already present in JDBC. See here, it is imported from the JDBC code.jdbc template. So I am using this for fetching the data or trying or for performing the operation, database operation by using this JDBC template. So here what I did, I created a one method get user detail. In that method, I've created a variable, same variable in the users folio we have granted authority variable, list of granted authority variable I've created. Now in the third line I have written the query. Now in this third line I have written the query to fetch the data from the database based on the username. If the username matched, it will return the value or the details of that particular user. Now, in the next step, I am executing the query and passing the user's SQL query. This takes select star from this. At the same time, I am passing the user's name along with that. So it will go into the database and check whatever the details or the value which match with this username, then it will return that data for that particular user. So here is the main part. Username is for like checking which table or the column in the database or the rows contain this username. If it is matches, it will return the record for that particular username. It can return the single user as well as if it is matches with more than one username. If matches for more than one, then it will return more than one values or details. But generally this is not possible because in the database we store single username, like single data for single username. So probably it will return a single data from the database because username belong to only one person, one username. So once we got this, what I am doing here. I in the users, what is this user from where it comes? Once it is returned, I am created a users pozo object. I am creating the object, and inside that object I am setting the username username come from here. Okay, and the next thing I am setting the password. Password we fetch from the database record. We got the password and we are setting here. Once we got all the things, it will return the user's pojo or the user. I am giving representing the user pojo with the user variable. So this method will return the user pojo. That's why the return type is user's pojo, and having the username password, two things it will return at the same time in the user's object. So once we got that, it will list will check, and it will see here in the list we will get the list of the users who belongs to this username. What username you are passing? Suppose you are passing username as a abc, abc. Okay, so whatever the columns belongs to abc username, it will return the details of the details it will return from the database. So it will return in the form of list. Once it is returning something, it means the size is greater than 0. Once we verify it, then what I am going to do, I am creating the object of granted authority. See, here we are going to use the granted authority. I've created the object, and by default I am doing the passing the role system admin. For this purpose I am giving the role system admin as a authority, granted authority. So it means that whatever the permission given to the role system admin person, it will be given to this user. What user it is returning, it will given to that user. So how it will give to that user? Because here I am setting that value list of, see here I am setting the list of granted authority to that users which is returned from the database, the value we got from the database. See what I did here. In the list I already told, in the list it contain only single data, because for single data, because username belong to one person only, so it will always return the single record or single rows from the database. So get and we are passing the index 0, it will means I will get the first data from the list, and there I am setting the list of granted authorities. So in that I am passing the list of granted authorities here, because we already added this in, this is an array. In this I have already added the granted authority object. See, granted authority object is from here, and we have provided the role system admin to that person, so that user. So once everything done, it will return the get 0, it will return the object that user. Okay, list, because list contain all the user, this time it will return with the username, password, and as well as granted authority to that user, the person which fetched the person or the user detail we fetch from the database. Alright, this is whole explanation of users DB query. Now jump into the article. Next step. Step number 7. Create the users detail service class. This is one of the most important class, because all the work, all the thing whatever I explained here and I done here, everything start from the service class only. Service class is like a driving class or the starting point for this case. So means this case means actually the starting point is main class only, but the things that this method and everything which are calling, it is called from the service class and then proceed further. I will explain you. Let's see one by one. Create the user detail service class. So what is the purpose of user detail service class? See here, user detail service class. We see here See here, we can also create a user details service class that extend the user details service, users details service. Okay, it will extend the user details service which already present in the security package of the Spring framework. The purpose of this class to call or invoke the doc class or the user DB query class as shown below. See, this is the line of code which I'm going to use it. I will explain you one by one. So what I'm going to do, I will just copy it, all the things, and jump into the Eclipse workbench and create a new class. I give the name users service. So what I'm going to do, I will paste it here, all the things, whatever I copied from that article. So let's see what each line of code is doing. The very first thing, I am using the annotation service. So this annotation used to tell the Spring that this class is service class. Okay, that is the purpose. It is a service class. It is representing this is the service class. Now I'm implementing the interface. This is the interface, user details service interface, which contains many methods. So one of the method I am using here from the user details service, see here, I am using load user by username. This method is already defined or declared in the user details service. So I'm implemented it. At the same time, I am injecting the user DB query object. See, auto buyer injecting, I am injecting it. Now come to the important part. This is the method load user by username. It actually comes from the user details service because we are overriding it. So we are overriding it here. What we are doing, we are passing the username, and see, at first I have created the object of user Pozo and assigning the null. So it is a null object right now. It is not pointing to any object. Okay, that is the meaning. See here, I told you this is the starting point means for the user's TV query. I am calling the user detail class. From here I am calling the user detail class, user detail method, which is present in users TV query. We already declare in the users TV query, see, user detail method. So from here we are calling it and we are passing the username. So once it get called, it will go here and it will return the user's detail from the database. Once we got the value from the database, users from the database, we are storing in this variable users pozo, and after that we created an object of user helper. See here, user helper is also coming in the service class. So here, that is the thing, I have created the object of user helper, and at the same time I am passing the user pozo. This user pozo contain all the things, username, password, and the list of granted authorities for that user. So once this is actually calling the constructor of the user's helper. See, it will come here and it will get the value username, it will get the password, it will get the granted list of granted authority. And since I told you the super calling statement is used to call the parent constructor. So here the in the user helper, I earlier I told you users is the parent class. Okay, for the users helper. So basically we are passing these values to the user class, which is already predefined in the Spring security. It is a Spring security class. It's like a user is the security class of the Spring framework. So now comes to the service class again. Alright, we understood this thing, and once we created the object of users helper, we are going to return it. So this load user by username will return the user detail, and this time user detail having like belong to the Spring security. Spring security user. Why I am telling like this? Because here you see we are passing this thing to the user, and user belong to the Spring security, this user. So that's why we are doing all the steps here, and that is all about this user service class. So up to this we saw user service, we saw the DB query, we saw the helper, we saw the pozo, we did pom.xml, we did main class codes. Now come to the next step number 8. Oh wow, this is the one of the most important step. You have to be more sincere to understand this thing. So step number 8, create the Spring Security Configuration class. No, this is the configuration class, Spring Security Configuration class. So let's see what is the purpose. So we need to create the configuration class that helps to enable the web security. So this class, actually the purpose of this class will help to enable the web security. What is the purpose of web security here? It actually telling the Spring, or actually it is what it is doing. It is creating a one layer on each method, which is present in the controller class. Actually we did not created a controller class right now, but whatever the method we define in the controller class, and we will tag with the APIs, so that APIs will now will be secured. So this will provide the security. So whenever any person or the client want to access that API, they have to go through the security. So it is like provide a one layer of security to that methods or the API which is present in the controller class. So till now I am did not created the controller class. I will create in the further section. So let's proceed. So see, to make the configuration class, we need to tag configuration. Obviously, we need to tag with configuration annotation. In this, we need to define two very important methods such as encoder method and the authentication manager bin method. And this class should extend the web security configuration adapter. So this is the predefined class which is present in the security, Spring Security. So what I am doing, first what I will do, I will just copy it, this line of codes, and paste it, and one by one I will explain each thing, each methods, whatever it is present in this. So create a class, give the name Spring, sorry, give the some meaningful name, users Spring Security. Okay, click on finished. We got this class and paste it all the codes. Sorry, this is not a correct code. Just jump to the article, copy from the imports so that it will already fix the imports problem, and I'm going to paste it here. So this is the class Spring Security. Okay, so you can rename it like Spring Security, Security Configuration.java, or you can give your name whatever you want. So let's see. The first annotation you already know, configuration, just making the class is configuration class. This annotation used to enable the web security in your application. Now this enable the global method security, pre-post enable true. So it is actually telling the, if like you understood like that, when the client is trying to access the resources, it has to be go, and in each method it is first creating the security for that method, pre-post enable. Okay, it is true. So it will first go to the security layer, and then it will able to access the methods. Now in the next step, what in the next part what I am doing, I am injecting the user service class or the object, auto wiring the user service object. And here the I'm calling, creating one method, encoder method, and it will return the bean or the object of bcrypt password encoder. Okay, this is the thing. Another part, this is the configuration method which is already present in the web security configuration configurer adapter. So here what I am actually doing, I am what I did, I am calling this authentication manager builder object. In that object I am calling user details service. Okay, in the user details service I am passing the user service. User service, from where it comes? It comes from the user service we already written here. Okay, all the things are combined, like we stated the in the user service. I already told you that we have fetches the data from the database and set the granted authorities, and then finally we are passing to the then we are returning the user detail. So that user service object will pass here, and here I am doing the and here I am calling the password encoder method, where I am passing the encoder calling statement. Actually this method we call this method. Okay, this encoder will call this method, and it will return the bcrypt password encoder object. So actually the password, the we have the password of many types, like we store the password of plain password, like whatever the you have given in the English characters, like ABCD. Okay, ABCD is a password, so it will restore as it is ABCD. But if you do the bcrypt password encoder, so it will convert into the hash code. Like it is not readable for the any person who is don't aware of that. This how the hash code syntax work, what is the symbol or the characters used in the hash code, what it represents. So that is the purpose of this thing. In the next part, we are configuring the we are overriding another method which is already present in the web security configuration adapter class. Okay, in this method, what I am doing, uh, what I did here, for every HTTP which come, so what I am doing here, for the every HTTP request which come, it should be authorized request, and for for any request we have checked that it should be authorized. It should be the authorized request, and at the same time we authenticate it, and session, and then we calling the session management, and this session create policy have we set it as a neighbor. Means every time you have to means actually this line is saying that you don't have to create the session in the like client application. So whenever you call, it will first go to for the verification that authorization, it should be authorized for each API. Okay, it will not create able to create a session on that client browser or like that. Now come to the another method. Now another method we also again, here we configure total three methods which of configure, name is configure, which come from the web security configurer adapter. So let's see what this method is doing. We are configuring the one method, configure method, and here we are telling the web security dot ignoring. So actually the purpose of this line, if you give any here, if you give any URL or the APIs for particular API, you don't want to like security or for to check the security for some particular API. So you want to give the access to that API without going through the security or the authentication. So you have to keep the name here. But here I'm not giving any particular API. It means for each API which I am going to create, it has to be passed through the web security or the say Spring Framework security. No, no, at the end, I'm calling one more method. This is authentication manager bean. It will return the bean of the authentication manager bean. Okay, so that's why I tag with the bean annotation. So this is all things what is so this is all the things what is we define in the Spring security or the security configuration class. So let's jump into the another step. So here see, I have written all the things in the detail. If you want, you can go through this article. You will understand so many things. So come to the next step. In the next step, the step number 9, we are going to create a auth2 configuration class. Yes, it is also a configuration class, and this will only enable the auth2 authorization for your application. So it is one of the important class which contain all the important things like private key, public key, token signature key, verifier key, client ID, client secret, and all these things like we are going to use in this class. So from this class only you will able to generate the token JWT token. So let's first start. First what I am going to do, same thing, I will copy this whole thing and create a class. So go here, this is the package, I'm creating the class. So I will give the name auth to configuration config, okay, and click on finished. You will get this class. So what I am going to do, I will just paste it here. So you can see I have pasted this code. Now I will explain each line of code here so you will able to understand. Okay, so the very first thing we are using the annotation configuration. So this annotation is already, this is actually making the class configuration class. So now come to the important part. This class is extending the authorization server configuration adapter class. This is the predefined class which is already present in the auth2. See, in the auth2 package. So authorization server configure adapter. So I will tell you why this is cross, like you can see there is some line over that class name. So I will explain you in the later section why it is coming like this. Okay, so first see the logic, what is actually happening. Okay, so the very first variable I have created client ID. So client ID I have set it some value, you can give whatever value you want. I have set it the client secret, you can give whatever secret ID you want. And for private key and public key, I will use the another tool or command prompt OpenSSL for generating the private key as well as the public key. Okay, I will show you in this section how to generate this from the OpenSSL. Now come to the another thing. Then I auto-wired the authentication manager here. Okay, then I auto-wired the password encoder. Auto-wired means I am creating the object or injecting the object in this class. Now come to the another point. What we are we are creating or defining one method token enhancer. Actually this method is only responsible for creating the JWT token. So what I did here, JWT access token converter. So I have created the object of JWT access token converter and I am setting the signing key as a private key and verifier key as a public key. Okay, so basically the private key should not be exposed to the resources server or to the client. We keep it in the like in this server only, authorization server. We did not share it to be the client, but the public key we will use as a verifier key. So when we give the token or when this authorization server give the token to the client, JWT token, that token contains the three things, three part: header, payload, and the signature. So the signature which we signature means this verifier key, it present the contain the verifier key. So now what I am doing, I am defining a one more method. It will return the JWT token store. From here I am calling this method token enhancer. See, I am calling this method. uh, okay, and this method actually it is creating the object of JWT token store. So this JWT token store object contains the JWT token. Okay, it will call this thing and it will return the JSON token, JWT token, and it will store in this JWT token store. Okay, now come to this method, configure method. We have the configure method here. What I am doing here, this method is actually telling that all the endpoints should be authenticated. Okay, all the endpoints should be authenticated and token based. Like it is making that if anybody call the endpoint or the API,
there must be some token. They must have some token. Okay, then only they will get to access of this API or the resources server. Now, in another method we have configurer. In this method, what I am doing, I'm checking that is all the methods like on check token access is authenticated. Okay, I'm checking the token is authenticated or not. Okay, and it token key access permit all. It will provide the token to everybody, permit to all, and it is checking it is authenticated or not. This is the purpose of this method. Now the last one we have the client detail service configured method. So here what I'm actually doing, I'm dynamically registering the client. Suppose you are the client and you want to access some resources or some API from my application or this application. So as you are the client, for you I'm registering, I'm the authorization server, I'm registering your identity. Okay, so here I'm registering in the in memory based, and with client id, you must have the client id. Okay, it will provided by the authorization server only, client id to client. Okay, the client person who wants to access the any resources or the API from the application. All right, and I'm setting the secret key. Okay, secret key is like secret, client secret as this. Okay, and once the token generated, I am giving the authorization to my client or the person who wants to access the API. I am giving like to read and write, not to delete. Okay, not to delete, only read and write scope I am setting here. And grant types means how the client should access or access that what we can say authorization server. So for grant type we are giving the password, and here I'm setting the how after how means how long this token will be valid. So I'm setting here 20,000 milliseconds. Okay, for up to this the token will be valid, and after that the response token validity second I am setting here. So this is all the things I am doing for the token and authorization server, like that. So this is all things I have done here. So see here, every important auth2 classes or the object having this mark. Okay, cross mark over the name, over the object name. So this is happened because see here, if you go on to that, it will give the suggestion add at the script. Okay, at the rate suppress warning deprecated to token is answered. If you click on that, it will give, but still it is showing that line, it is not disabled. See what is the problem here. Here if you click on that, you will get the Auth 2.0 migration guideline. Actually, Auth 2.0 is migrating to the different feature. Now they are moving to the different feature, and like they have implemented a new feature to implement Auth 2 on your application. So here it is a document to follow all the steps. If you read the first line, this document contains guidelines for moving Auth 2.0 client and resource server from Spring Security Auth 2.x to Spring Security 5.2.x. So this is basically the migration guideline, how you can shift from the older one to the newer guidelines. This is given by the Auth 2 team. Okay, so that's why it is giving the this line, but still it will work. It will work. I will show you how to. And like this one is the earlier we use, and currently many places they already use like this, but in the latest update they provided this guideline to migrate to the different feature. Okay, moving forward, let's jump into the article. What is the next step? Now we are going to create a, for creating the public key and the private key, you have to use the OpenSSL software. So for this purpose, you can, if you don't have OpenSSL, just go and download it. Okay, can easily get OpenSSL and go and download from there. I will not show you how to download. You can easily get. Uh, it is easy to download it. Okay, I have already downloaded. I will just open it. OpenSSL command prompt. See, this is like a simple command prompt only, and just follow the steps. Next step is, let us create a public and private key with the following commands. Here I have given you command for generating the private key. So what I am going to do, you should also do like this. Copy this command and paste it here. Remember, this is OpenSSL command prompt, not the general one. Okay, if you press enter, you will get this thing, private key. Now the second step here come. Type the verb command as shown below, and once you press, you will get this screen. See, we got this screen. Now enter the another command, OpenSSL, this one, just copy it and paste it here. If you press enter, you will get the private key. See, begin RSA private key. So what you have to do, just copy from here. So see what you have to do, just copy it up to here. Copy it and go to the notepad and paste it. So from here, just you copy it. If you don't want to paste it in the notepad, then it's all right. Just go to the here private key. Okay, under the double quote, you have to place that private key. See, I placed it, and make sure it should start from this begin a RSA private key. Then only it will work. Now come to the another step. Okay, I got the private key. Step 2, create the public key. For creating the public key, you have to write this command. Okay, I will paste it here. Press enter. Now see, you got the public key. What I am going to do, same thing, I will not from here, I will copy it, hold the thing, from begin public key to end public key. I will copy it and go here, remove this, and inside the double quote just paste it, Control B. Now I got the public key as well as private key. Now jump into the article. What next? Once you hit the enter, yes, we got this thing. Please copy and paste inside the config auth2.java class. Okay, we done it. Okay, now note, if you are using the Spring Boot version greater than 1.5, then please place the following line of code inside the application.properties. So let's see which version we are using. Go to the pom.xml file. You can see here we are using Spring Boot 2.3.3. Okay, so it is greater than 1.5. So what I will do, I will copy it and place in application.properties file. You will find application.properties file here. Just place it and save. Once it's done, now you go and create the REST controller class. So REST controller class, why I am creating? This is basically the resources server. So REST API. Okay, so whenever somebody try to call this API, it will get like they will not able to call. They must have the token or a proper authorization to access this API. Okay, this is the important point. This is the only the resources API or the endpoints or the HTTP which not allow the any person to access directly. They have to go through the security process, and then only they will able to do this. So let's jump into the code. I'm going to create a one REST controller class. Let's keep the name hello world controller I have given. You can give whatever you name you want. I will make it same hello world. Okay, make it controller will be very good. Refactor it, rename hello world controller. Okay, so what I am going to do, I will just copy it all the things and paste it. It is very simple. I think it is not required to explain this thing, so already you know. Import it. Okay, so yeah, we are ready. We have done all the coding. Now all the configuration part has done. Let's focus on creating the table inside the in-memory database. So in-memory database I will create a one table, and inside that I will store a user's detail, one user detail. Okay, for checking that, because user must have the credential stored in the database, then only authentication and authorization will work. So here I am using the S2 database for creating that. So what you have to do, create a schema.sql file on the path here. So go to here where this, and here you have to go and create a SQL file. So what I will do, I will click on the others and scroll down. You will see here SQL development. Just click on that, you will get SQL file. Just double click, give the name of the file schema. Okay, I'm giving schema and press finished. See here the file is created schema.sql. So here I will write a query to create a table. The name of the table is users, and I have created the ID as a primary key, username and the password. Three fields I have created: ID, username and the password. Okay, so just save it like that. Now go to the article. Step 2, create a data.sql file on the this same path and insert the value. This insert query means we will going to put some or store some and value of the users. Okay, so let's begin. Right click, go to the new, and similarly click on others, click on SQL file and give the name data, give the name data. See data.sql, it is created, and I'm going to insert some value. See here, I have written an insert query, insert into users, ID, username, password. ID I have given 1, username I am giving this, and this one is the password. See the format of password, decrypt password. So I have click on control save, it is saved. So once you run the application, this thing will automatically execute it, create this query, and this both the query will automatically executed, and it will create the table and in which this value will be inserted. So this thing is only happen when you run this application or run this server on the server. Okay, so let's move on to the further step. Since we are using the bcrypt format to store the password, so it should always be in same format while inserting the value, as you can see in the verb insert query. Okay, we are already using the bcrypt format, so this one is the bcrypt password. Done. Not a plain password, we are storing the bcrypt password. So final folder structure, all right. Now create a jar file. Okay, you can create a jar file, either you can run it directly. Okay, I'm going to show you directly. Just what you have to do, just go to the main class and right click, run as Java application. Oh my god, when you run it, if you're getting this exception, see, exception name is, see here, no class defined founder at JPEX XML bind JAXP exception. So if you are getting this exception, this is because if you are using the Java um, above the 10 like 11, okay, 11, and if you are using the Java version below the 10 up to 10, okay, at that point you will not get this exception because this class is present in the class path, but after the 10 version it is removed. And so for this purpose, to solve this issue, what you are going to do, see, I find a one solution on internet, how to solve this problem. What I find here, it is mentioned, it is because JXB library, this one is missing in the class path, and this include in AC 10 or the older, means up to 10 it was there, but after the 10 like Java 11 it is removed. So if you are getting this error, use this dependency and explicitly copy it. You will easily get this. If you search on internet, you will get it, this dependency, and go to the pom.xml file and just go into the dependency section and paste it there. So let's see it will work or not. Just go here, right click, click on Java application. Oh my god, still we are getting the exception. What exception this time we got? We got the exception, see here. Again it is not found, and it is saying that implementation of JPEX APIs has been found on module, has not been found on your module path or the class path. Earlier the exception message was different, but this time it is not able to found on the class path. So let's see what is the solution available on the internet. Just copy it and go to your browser and search. Okay, in the Stack Overflow, just go here. Let's see, same problem somebody got. And what is the solution? See, if you are using the Gradle, you have to implement these three dependencies. But if you are using the pom.xml, just what I am going to do, I will copy it and I will go to my pom.xml file. So actually, this dependency does not work, right? I will remove it and I will paste that which I copied from the Stack Overflow, right? Now let's check it will work or not. Go to the this class, main class, and right click, run the Java application. Let's see it will work or not this time. Wow, it's working. See, started the Spring Boot application in this second, port number 8080. Oh, it's working. Now it's working. Let's verify it is started or not. Go here, type local host 8080. See, you got this message. It means it is working. This means it is working, and see here, full authentication is required to access these resources. So if somebody want to access these resources, they have to provide the authentication. So let's proceed to the this article. What is the next step? Create auto done. We have completed that thing. This all the private key, public key is solved. Now come to the step number 10 is already done. Step number 1. Let's try. Step number 3. I have created a one resources like API home. If I try to call the home, what I will get? See, same message I got. Full authentication is required to access these resources. So move forward. Okay, no, no, no. No need to create a jar file. If you want, you can create it. No, come to here, go to the this path command line. Okay, jar file is okay. So see, in the next step, create a JSON web token. Okay, we have to create the JSON web token from the Postman. So open the Postman. I already opened here. Let's check first what message I will get. Localhost, spelling mistake, localhost 8080. Let's try to send the request. What message we will get? See, error message, unauthorized full authentication is required to access these resources. Even if you call the API which I declare in the controller class, see here, home, endpoint, same message we got. Now move to the article. What is that? Now go inside the section, select or fill the field. So step number one, open the Postman and add the data in authorization section. So go to the authorization section. This is the section. Now inside this section, select or fill the following fields. In the type, you have to give the basic auth. Username should be enter the client ID when you which you mention in the this auth config auth file. Okay, on this class. So that username you have to mention, and the password, as a password add the client secret value. Okay, so just go to the here, choose the type basic auth. See, I have already used username. You have to enter this username from where it comes. See here, go to the this file. See, username is a client ID. Okay, and client secret is a password for this case. See here, if I show you the show password, this is the client secret and the username name is Pixel Trace. See, so this is the thing, and you have to select the basic auth. So alright, just go to the article. Next step, fill the data in the body section of the Postman. So no, fill the data like grant tab username and the password in the body section under the X triple W form URL coded. Okay, here you have to mention the grant type. Grant type. What next? Username, name, and last one password. You have to give this. So see, grant type username and password. This is the key, and what is the value for this all the fields? Just go into the this config class. You only set it this thing. See here, grant type. See, grant type you have set it password. This should be a password. Okay, grant type should be a password because you have set it the password. Now username. This username and password is the users who wants to access the resources server. So in the database we already saved that username and the password. This is the username and the password. Okay, this one is different. So this is the username, and see, I will paste it here. Yes, of course you can give whatever the username you want, but it should be same whatever you stored in the database. And the password here you have to keep the plain password. Okay, not this decrypt password. So the if I convert it, actually the plain password is password itself. Okay, password itself. Password is password only. So fine. This is fine. This I have done. Now, step 3, send the post request to this API, auth token API. This API is actually present in the auth2 framework. Okay, if you send this, you will get the token. Okay, let's see. What I am going to do, I will copy this, or you can type it also. and paste it here. Yeah, post request. You have to send the post request, not get request, post request. If you click on send button, wow, you got the token. See, access token. This is the token type, bearer. Okay, refresh token you got, expires in time also we got, scope we already set it, read and write and JTI. Okay, this is the token. So what you have to do, just you copy it. Wait, before copying it, first you have to use this word bearer. Okay, just copy this word and go to the header section, and here you have to write authorization. Okay, in that you have to paste this bearer word. It should be, make it the first letter capital. Now give the space. Now what you have to do, just copy this up between the like double quotes, copy it and paste it here. Okay, after the bearer, give the space and then you have to paste it. Okay, now jump to the article. See, you got the token, add the JSON token inside the header section and add the content type as the application single forward slash JSON. So you have to also add the content type here. So content type, if you write, you will get C in the suggestion content type. Here you have to read the application single forward JSON. Okay, done. So now come here. Make sure that you should add the token after the this bearer. Okay, in the header section. Header section as shown in the web figure. Okay, alright. Now step 5. Go to the authorization tab in the Postman and change the type from basic auth to bearer token. Okay, we already got the token. Now go here and change to bearer token. Okay, because we got the token, and whenever now if I send a request to access some resources server or any API, then we are sending the token. So I have selected bearer token here or type. Now see next step. Now hit the endpoint or the API which I have created in controller class. See, copy it and go here and paste it here. Now if you send the request, you will able to access the resources. See, greeting from the Spring Boot. So from where it is coming, actually go to the controller class. See, greeting from Spring Boot. But if you did not, why I am able to access this thing, because I am sending the token, JSON token. If I unchecked it, okay, unchecked it and try to send it, I will get unauthorized. Full authentication is required to access these resources. But when we are setting this token, authorization token and content type, and then I will send it, I will get the access to the resources. So this is all complete tutorial how you can implement the Spring Security using which JWT and Auth2 configuration. So if you have any problem, just go through this article. I have written each and everything whatever I explained in this video, and you will even get a source code of this thing implementation. You can go and download from the GitHub. I have given the link here. See, GitHub link I have given. If you just click on that link, you will go to my, you will able to access my repository in the GitHub, and you will get all the code, source code. If, and this is for reference purpose only. If you have any trouble or problem, then you go and do it, find and clone it and use it. But I recommend you have to implement yourself. And if you find any exception or any problem, just go here in the internet and just type the exception. You will easily get the solution for that, because each and every day many people are facing the exception and they asking the question on the internet portal, and everybody is answering that, and you can easily get it. Okay, so this is all the things whatever I explain you. So I hope you enjoyed this video and you learned something new. And Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any query, just to comment in the comment box. So yeah, thank you so much. Goodbye.